your dream lifestyle has a price tag. And when you can figure out what that price tag is, it gives you a concrete number that maybe scares you at first, or like me, it actually might calm you a little bit and say, whoa, this is actually way more attainable than I thought. What's up, you guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Chloe, and I'm on YouTube because I have led over $2 billion in investment for vulnerable communities. I've delivered a viral TEDx talk on well-being, and I've pivoted my career to help amazing, big-hearted, passionate leaders like yourself do the work of healing yourself inside and out, building generational wealth in ethical ways, and helping other people do the same. We have some of the biggest challenges in history, from rising rates of poverty, climate change, violence across the world, inequality, you name it. And at the same time, we are in the most prosperous times in literal recorded history. The gap is having the right leaders, you, in your bag, in your power, so that you can have the bandwidth to help us solve these big problems. And just to let you know where my head's at, I don't think you have to be a career activist to make a difference, or a career community organizer, I should say. You could be a professional dancer, you could be a basketball player, you could be a politician, you could be a business leader. Whatever you want to blend your time and creativity into, you can make a big difference. And on this channel, I give you the tools to do all of that, again, within the framework of your health, your wealth, and your impact. So if this sounds like you have found the right community. Now, today's video is actually a follow-up from the video I posted earlier this week, and I'll link it up here somewhere so that you can have access to it. But in the last video, I was really telling you, especially for my people who are first gen to wealth, why building wealth and prioritizing your well-being is actually part of the healing journey. You know, we really got into a whole lot of goodness around why building wealth is actually, it should be one of the first parts of your healing journey, to give you that kind of stability to then build everything else on top of. So please make sure you watch that video, because that's the why. This video is more tactical, it's hands-on. So if you've seen any other videos on my channel, you know that I love giving you guys real, actionable, accessible things to do so you can see a difference in your life literally tomorrow, right? I don't believe in just theorizing forever without giving you something to do about it. So this video, again, is going to just be giving you a step-by-step, my playbook for how you start building wealth without burning out. Now, the first thing that you always have to do whenever you set out, honestly, to do anything is get clear on your why, get clear on your what, and get clear on your how. This, in other terms, is your vision, your mission, and your method, right? So I'll just use my own just personal example. So for me, my vision as to what wealth looks like, it's that my husband and I can choose that we never have to work again in our lives and still have enough money to live a good quality of life, right? It doesn't mean I don't want to work. It means that I want to have the option of when and how and for whom, with whom I work with. And same for him. It also means that, you know, no crisis in our life will mean that we're homeless, right? Like, we want to have a good cushion, and I want to be able to provide financial opportunity for my extended loved ones, right? Whether they're friends, their family, their potential kids or not potential kids, nieces, nephews, whomever, I really want to take care of my people. And then I also want wealth to help entrepreneurs just like you make a difference in their communities. You know, through my work, having built 2 8-figure businesses and lead a multi-billion-dollar strategic plan, one of the insights I found in all of that is that I want more of us to be the funders. I want to be a funder, and I want you to be a funder too. So my vision is making economic opportunity accessible for you and me together. My mission to do this is because our wealth gap is so huge in our country and in our world. We have to shrink it if we're gonna have a livable society, which for a lot of people it's not. And if it's not for some of us, it's not for all of us, right? Because the cost of some is exploitation of the others. I won't get too deep into that, but I know my mission clearly. And then my method is that I want to help you build wealth, help me build wealth without exploiting other people's labor. So I want to do it in ways that are ethical, and I also want to compensate the people around me beautifully as we build wealth together. It's collective prosperity. That's my method, right? So very clear, and for you, you have to be clear on these things as well. And the deeper rooted they are in well-being for you and other people, the closer you're gonna get to fulfillment, the closer you're gonna get to feeling in your integrity as a human and a community member, and the quicker you're going to see that when you help people, that kind of goodwill absolutely comes back to you. So aside from the moral argument or the kind of altruistic stance, it's also great business sense, right? Because think about it, when you help your community, there are more people with the means to purchase whatever it is you offer, right? Like it really makes so much sense, and yet we make it so much more complex than it needs to be. So step one is getting clear on what you're doing, why you're doing it, and how you want to do it. The second tip I have for you is that you need to really own how much money that you bring in. I tell all of my clients, you are, like if I was talking to me, I would say, you're already a CEO. Even if you work a 9 to 5, you're the CEO of Chloe Hakim-Moore Inc., right? Like even when I was working for an employer, I was still the CEO of the business of Chloe, because when I worked for an employer, I was exchanging a service, AKA the job I signed up to do, in exchange for a salary that I agreed to. Whether I was happy or not, I agreed to that wage, right? And so because of that, that is one source of income. I have the option to create side hustles, to consult, to coach, to babysit, to take on a part-time job somewhere else, right? Like I have the option to generate money in other ways. I could, make investments. I could be saving money in something that compounds, right? Like there are other ways to make money. And so it really is in your hands, and you need to understand it that way, that you are responsible for how much income you bring in, right? So with that understanding, some of you might say, the job I'm at is not the wage I would generally charge someone. Then you need to change your job or get a raise. Of course, try to get a raise, but also you can leave your job, right? Like, and I don't say that too cheeky as though it's something that's just easy. None of the stuff that I'm saying to you should you write off as, oh, it's just easy. I want to give you hope that it's possible, and with the right strategies, you can absolutely do it. Having some persistence, knowing that you have to be a lifelong active learner, which are all things we preach about on this channel. So for those of y'all who are like steeped in the content, you already know the jam. But when you get comfortable understanding that your job is to learn and just keep putting one foot in front of the other, it makes it so much easier. So again, first tip, get clear on your whole premise. Second tip is to understand that you own how much income you're supposed to bring in. And then third, to really get clear on what your expertise is and how you want to spend your time. So when you think about your life, when you think about what you love, what you don't love, how you would generally choose to spend your time, I want you to ask yourself the question of, if I had a magic wand, all of my responsibilities were taken care of, how would I spend my time? Now, I ask literally every student and client I work with this question, and you won't be surprised how many people it stumps, because we weren't taught to ask that question. We weren't taught to dream or strategize in that way, but it's super important, because when you get past the confines of your current circumstances or constraints, you can start to hear your intuition and your desires with a clarity that is not constrained by surmountable circumstances, right? Things that you can change. And so when you can hear your desires and your dreams with that kind of clarity, you can then assess your current situation and identify where it is you need to make changes to generate alignment between where you want to be and where you are on a daily basis. So the clearer you get about, how you want to spend your time, or what I call it, your dream lifestyle, you can then start to look at, okay, what your expertise is and how you want to spend your time, and start sifting through them, seeing where they overlap, and start to say, okay, I actually would rather generate money doing this thing. Now let's figure it out, right? I have another video on how you monetize your expertise, so I won't go all the way through that, but I will link it here in the card so you can watch that video. But the premise of it is that you have a lot of expertise. Our economy has changed so much that having knowledge has been seen as a much more valuable commodity than ever before. You have knowledge, you have a story, you have something that can inspire, entertain, or educate someone, some group of people. And because of that, your capacity to make money is not a matter of having some degree or having some network. It's your ability to get very clear on what you want, how you want to get there, and then having the skills to put it into a business and marketing plan. So again, this video really covers that much more in depth, but I just wanted to give you some quick cliff notes so that you kind of get a sense of how you would take your dream lifestyle and what expertise or how you would like to spend your time and turn it into a business. The next part of this video around how you really build wealth without burning out, again, has to be rooted in your values. So when you think back to your dream lifestyle, there are gonna be things within that that help you understand what your next steps should be. For example, let's say that you want to have an international vacation once a year in your dream lifestyle. Great, you can start figuring out average cost of plane tickets, average accommodation. Maybe you start scoping out what country you want to go to, like next year, what have you. Figure out how much it costs. Your dream lifestyle has a price tag, and when you can figure out what that price tag is, it gives you a concrete number that maybe scares you at first, or like me, it actually might calm you a little bit and say, whoa, this is actually way more attainable than I thought. And if you can have that number in mind and figure out a system to generate that kind of revenue on a recurring basis, and y'all make sure you put some savings and investments in there, because we're not trying to work forever. But when you have a number in mind, you have a concrete goal, right? So you have a figure that you can work towards, and then it's a matter of figuring out what's the right combination of puzzle pieces to create the image that you've been dreaming of. So understanding your dream lifestyle, then setting financial targets underneath it. Once you set those targets, you have to go back to your how do you want to do this, right? So it's one thing to have targets, but then how you get there is really where rubber meets the road. And for so many people, this is actually where the breakdown happens, because people will say, oh yeah, I want this because I value freedom, or I want this because, you know, I don't want to work for an employer the rest of my life, which is awesome. That's great clarity. Where I think people mess up is when they look at, okay, here's the goal, and they feel like it's really big. They then go way too hard at first, burn out, get discouraged, don't have the right support, don't have the community around them of like-minded people to help encourage them, etc. They don't have the right strategy and system around them to help them through the journey of this work, right? So often, and I see this a lot in online education, which kind of makes me a little sad, but people prioritize the milestones over the process. And because of that, people will say, oh yeah, do this to reach 7 figures, do this to reach 6 figures. And they're focused so much on a single destination point that what happens to you, the leader, students who are watching the content, is that they fixate, or you fixate so much on a single point in time, not taking into account that there's so much time before, during, and after that you deserve to enjoy. Like, you deserve to enjoy building the life, because right now, this is life, right? Like, this is the moment. And being able to have gratitude for that is going to help you not only sustain the journey, enjoy the process, it's gonna help your mental health. And mental health is such an important thing to care for, one, because you deserve an enjoyable life, but two, when you think about, and I think athletes are a great example, like, athletes have to have high performance, and that means their bodies, minds, spirits need to be in alignment and functioning at a super high level for them to perform at their best. Like, you guys have seen it with somebody at the free throw line, their mind's not there, they're missing shots you could make blindfolded when they were focused, right? The same thing happens as you're making small decisions or big decisions in your life. Think about the times where you popped off and you'd be like, ooh, that was out of character for me. Or think about the times where you had less patience than you're used to. Or think about the times where maybe you didn't speak up for yourself because you were too tired, right? When you're not your best, your decisions reflect that. So when you're building the best goals that you have in mind, the dream lifestyle, you need to also make sure that you're taking care of yourself, right? Not because for the sake of the destination, right? It's because you're choosing to spend your life in certain intentional ways. And the way you spend your life should be nourishing to you. This is a long way of me saying you have to release hustle culture. And keep in mind, I want all of you to at least become millionaires, right? Back to the beginning of the video, I said that I want you to become the funder. I don't want you to just kind of make it. I don't want you to just like be all right. I want you to have serious wealth, but the way to do that is to have the stamina to actually build it, the right strategies to build it the right way, because, and we'll get into this in a second, it's not harder work that is going to make you wealthy. It's having the right strategies, the right resources, and the right community to help you know which steps to take and to encourage you to keep taking those steps. Now, I mentioned earlier, it's not hard work that makes people wealthy, or harder work. And I just want to say to anybody who's watching this video, I think people who work shift jobs, people who have multiple jobs, people who do manual labor, people who do lawn work, people who are in social services, have some of the hardest jobs out there. And doing that kind of work is not usually the path to building wealth. Like if you are the frontline staff member, you might have one of the hardest jobs ever, right? Like janitorial and custodial staff have hard jobs. That does not mean like the better they get at that kind of custodial work means that they'll become wealthy. That's not a guarantee. And honestly, it's usually unlikely. It's also not the case that you just need like to have certain degrees to get that wealth, right? Because we also know that degrees oftentimes come with a lot of debt. To become seriously wealthy, you have to have the mindset of how to build wealth. That is different than how to have a job. Now, I know this is going to be a whole series on my channel, y'all, so make sure you subscribe so that you can keep getting the videos in this kind of series. But building wealth takes a whole different mindset that we were not taught in school, period. Our schools, and I talk about this so much, but our school curriculums are still stuck in like World War II's needs. Our schools are designed largely to make sure that its students could be good factory workers because that's what they needed in the war. And there's not been a huge like educational transformation that has totally caught up since then, right? So the skills of building wealth certainly are not taught in our schools, especially public schools. So I just want y'all to know that it's a whole different ballgame. So when you think about how to build wealth, you have to start thinking about how do you own businesses? How do you make investments? How do you monetize you can even start by monetizing your real expertise at a premium, right? So you have to start making different money moves, which starts with making a different money mindset and internal ecosystem for yourself. It's having that clarity of vision. It's healing any money mindset issues. It's knowing what kind of lifestyle you want. It's knowing how you want to get there. It's setting goals and remembering that the way that you get there, the process is incredibly important. And that process needs to be rooted in real strategies to build wealth. So I'm gonna make another part to this video. Make sure you're subscribed so when it comes out, you get it. But it actually is gonna go through the strategies of what it takes to build wealth. And in the meantime, guys, I wrote a book that is just for you on healing yourself, building wealth ethically, and making an impact. I've left it in the description box for you along with a few other goodies. And with that, I'm gonna sign off for today's video. I hope you have a great week, and I'm gonna see you in the next one. Peace.